Well, in our last episode, we were unpacking an incredible testimony, and it was so good, decided to put it into 2 episodes. So you're going to pick up on the second part of testimonies, and testimonies are such an important part of our journey. We need that hope along the way that we can plug in and listen to and be encouraged. And I know that part 2 of this life change story of Patrick is going to bring you some encouragement. So today we're going to continue around life change with Patrick. Welcome to Celebrate Recovery Official, a podcast that shares life change stories, courage, hope, and leadership wisdom, all centered around the Celebrate Recovery principles based on the Beatitudes of Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus gives us tools, sound words of wisdom on how to face our hurts, how to face those hang-ups that get us stuck, and ultimately the habits, the numbing agents, the defense protections and mechanisms that we use to run from our pain that always cause havoc on our relationships with God and others. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with drugs and alcohol and perfectionism. My name is Rodney. I'm the Global Field Director with Celebrate Recovery, and it is so good to be back with you again today. This episode, so encouraged by part 1, and just wanted to continue the conversations. We wrap this up, and I know you'll be encouraged. So we'll pick up with the rest of the interview here with my brother, Patrick.
You know, Rodney, I was so good at hiding stuff that so many people didn't know. They might have known stuff was off, but they didn't know the depth of it. And I had gotten, but I think when I had hit kind of my lowest point, I got a little sloppy, you know. I got a little sloppy, and because I was getting desperate, and my wife still didn't know anything. She still didn't know I was having these relationships. She didn't know that I was using pornography, you know, daily. And she didn't know. She knew about the drugs, of course, because she lived with me. But she, you know, it was just pot, and it was just to help me manage my anxiety. Right? That's how we justify these things. So, and then, so Jesse began to meet with me, and he began to talk to me. We didn't play a whole lot of guitar, but we did a lot of talking. And he began to tell me about the life change that his wife had experienced through a program called Celebrate Recovery. And he started encouraging me to go. And I was like, I'm not one of those people. I don't need Celebrate Recovery. I'm fine, really. You know, those people are weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So, they yell every time they announce it in the sanctuary on Sunday. I'm not one of those people, you know. And so I was resistant, and but thankfully he kept on encouraging me to go.
Love that.
And eventually I relented, and I said, well, I'll go to Celebrate Recovery, but I'm going to go to the other Celebrate Recovery in town. I'm not going to go to the one at our church because I don't want anybody to know my business. And here I am on the Celebrate Recovery official podcast talking about all my business. So there's some perspective for you.
Yeah.
So I went across town to Celebrate Recovery, and I went to 3 meetings. And I sat in the back, and I left quick, and but I kept going back because it was intriguing to me that these people that had these stories that were so much worse than mine, and there was so much more pain and so much more loss. And I remember hearing a testimony, and I remember who gave it, but I don't remember a thing from that testimony now. I remember it had a huge impact on me.
Wow.
And I kept going back. And on the 3rd time that I went back, I was sitting in this smaller church here in town has a sanctuary. It's got a post. It's right in the middle of the sanctuary. And I had placed myself right behind this post because I didn't want anybody to see me rise. I'm right behind this pole, you know.
Clever.
Yeah. Hiding from that preacher up there. And this little bald fellow from Boston's up there talking, and from New York. I'm sorry, Mike. I know you're not from Boston. I know you're a big Yankees fan. I know you never root for the Red Sox. So Mike is now a dear brother of mine, but he was preaching that night, and I felt like he and I were the only ones in the room. I felt like he was talking directly to me.
Yeah.
And I have never experienced conviction like I did that night. And I knew immediately I said, well, you listen, I'm I got nothing to lose at this point. I got a plan to end my life. I'm still doubting that this whole thing is a ruse. I'm going to church to satisfy my wife. I'm really, doing the worship thing because I like playing music and it's fun. And I like, I like being the center of attention, and like a lot of us extroverts are. And man, it was just, but I said, man, there's something here. And I got nothing to lose, so I'm gonna give it a try. So I stayed after. I went up and got a blue chip.
Wow.
And for the first time, still got that thing. It's worn. It's almost worn all the letters off of it. I carried it on my keychain for like 2 years. And I went up and got a blue chip, and I stayed and talked to this man who became my sponsor. And
wow.
and we talked for about an hour and a half after this. And I just told this guy everything I'd ever done, and told him how much of a wreck and mess my life was. And I was just broken.
Mm.
And man, I bawled like a baby, and I felt better, but I knew that I still had to make things right with God.
Right.
And Rodney, I don't know the ins and outs of I'm not a seminary trained, I'm ordained barely. And, I'm barely a pastor, I have not gone to seminary. I don't know, systematic theology. I don't know these things, so I don't know how this works, but I know that I went home that night and I went outside and I looked up at the stars and I said, God, I am broken. I'm a wreck. And I don't know if you're real, but if you're real and if you fix me and fix my life, I'll give my life to you. And man, immediately, I mean, like in a moment, the amount of peace and the amount of just knowing that everything was going to be all right was overwhelmed me and came over my body. And I just felt different. Wow. And, I don't know if that was a moment of salvation for me, if that was me finally deciding to stop running from God, and I don't know if I got saved when I was 8 or if I got saved when I was 33, but I wasn't sure. I know that I didn't fully surrender myself to Christ's care and control until that moment.
Yeah.
And, so I my life became drastically different in a big hurry.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I love that. I don't know if my salvation came then or, I just quit running from God. It's probably maybe both, right? I mean, he saved you.
Yeah.
He saved you from a pretty dark place. And it sounds like that was the moment that you felt his hand grab you and pull you out of that dark pit. And what a cool picture to just imagine. One that Jesus will meet us in that darkness and love us enough to grab a hold of us, and no matter what we've done.
Yeah, I agree. And and Rodney, a reason I clarify that, and the reason that I wanted to hit that note is there's a lot of us that grew up in really legalistic churches.
Yeah, yeah.
And in really legalistic churches that had expectations that were extra biblical. The way we dress, the way we conduct ourselves, the way that we, whether we have long hair and tattoos like I have now. And
I'm trying so hard not to judge you right now. No,
it's okay, man. It's okay.
I'm messing with you.
Judge away, Rodney.
I'm messing with you.
And the hysterical thing about that is that my life looked on the outside, used to before recovery, I was clean cut and nobody would have known.
Yeah.
And but
you were a mess on the inside.
Man, I tell you that because, and I tell our listeners that because I want you to understand that it doesn't matter if you don't understand the theology. I'm here to tell you that the gospel is simple. If you surrender your life to Christ, he will save your life and he will wreck it in the best way that you could ever imagine. He will turn it upside down and he will fix it in the way that you don't expect. And it will be so wonderful.
Wow.
So that's the reason I wanted to say that.
No, I love that.
Don't get caught up in the and don't get caught in the mire.
Yeah.
The gospel's easy.
Yeah.
The gospel's simple. Yeah, we can. We really can.
So talking to Patrick and hearing his life change story. Stick with me. I'll be right back. Hey friends, online meetings are such a great tool for us, and we have an online global meeting, open share meeting every single Wednesday at noon Pacific time. All you got to do is go to celebraterecovery.com and find the link and join us, and we do a little mini-moni, devotional, and then we break up into share time. If you want to share, great. If you don't, just listen in a safe space and be encouraged. We can't face this journey alone, and here's a great tool for you. I hope you'll join us this week. Noon Pacific. Go to celebraterecovery.com for more information.
So anyway, I went ahead and I wasn't sure. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and get baptized again. So I got baptized, and I made a public declaration of faith to the church. And I stepped away from the worship team for a season because obviously I was not qualified to lead at that time. And, so I think that, but that started a journey of healing for me, and a journey of disclosure, to my wife, and coming clean. And that was a process, unfortunately that was a process. And that's one of my biggest regrets is not just not telling her everything at once. I was so scared to tell her everything because I thought she was going to leave me. And, I was so afraid of losing her that I didn't come clean about everything for a long time until I was done with my inventory and I worked the program. And, I truthfully I probably got some bad advice on that. And a mix of that but probably mostly my fear, knowing that you need to do something and not wanting to do it because you're afraid of the results. And I knew that God was going to be faithful, whether he saved my marriage or not. I knew that he would redeem my life, but I wanted it my way, so I was afraid of what that looked like. But, praise God, she stayed. Yeah. And she'll be the first one to tell you that the only reason she stayed is because I was so different. She couldn't stop looking. Yeah. So she's like, man, who is this guy?
So so you go to work, you're working the process, works if you work it, won't if you don't, kind of a thing. But what's the fruit of that work and jumping into this process? What's your marriage look like today? What's your family life? Who's Patrick today in your circles? What am I seeing?
Well, Patrick is genuine is one thing. I don't have to be one Patrick one place and a different Patrick in a different place and a different Patrick over here. What you see is what you get. And there's so much freedom in that, man. Because I'm not perfect and I don't pretend to be perfect, and I screw up and I'm going to continue to screw up. And, that's just a part of being on the side of heaven, I think. And, but man, I am who I am. And, I might rub people the wrong way, and that's okay, but I'm going to be myself, Yeah. And, but man, I've navigated a couple of job changes professionally and, for different reasons. And, man, I quit. Obviously, I quit using pornography. I quit stepping out on my marriage. I quit. And I had some slip ups with pornography along the way because it's so accessible and it's easy and it's and it's not something that was. It was a difficult thing to do away with, and that's still a process. Honestly, that's still a process now because it's everywhere. You just run across it on accident, Yeah. That's why having filters in place is useful, and having accountability is great. And those are tools, but really it's a heart condition, and making sure you keep that heart in the right place is really the best defense against that. And, I'm not using marijuana anymore. I'm not, I've been free of that for probably, oh gosh, it's been 4 years probably. And, I haven't had any alcohol in over, probably 3 years. Turns out I probably shouldn't drink. So, which
we're slow learners sometimes, aren't we?
We are. God just takes stuff from us. He reveals to us things that are problematic in our life. And I really wasn't a big drinker. I told you I used it, certainly self-medicated it. with it. But I've never called myself an alcoholic. I know that's a problem area for me. So I don't do that. I know that I don't need to play with fire. So stuff that alters my decision making is not something that I need to mess with. So, but I've on and off used nicotine since I was a teenager. And, I hadn't had any nicotine, and this Summit will be 3 years. So nailed that to the cross at Summit in Dallas, Texas, and left it there. So,
that's cool. So you're the one. You're the one.
Maybe there was a bunch of those. So it's there, man. It's been a journey. My life looks so drastically different, Rodney. My marriage is the most incredible thing. I never thought that I could have the depth of love and intimacy that I have for my wife. And I'm not just saying that because she's sitting in this room with me. I'm telling you that because she is everything to me. She is my partner. She is, she is my support. She is my rock. And she's, the level of intimacy that we have is not something that I would have ever been to have. I never would have been able to have that without surrendering my life to God. And that relationship with Him facilitated a depth in my marriage that was not achievable otherwise. So my kids, I'm there for them. Life is busy, and there's sometimes Dad's got to go to work still, but my kids, what's really funny is my son. My daughter was probably too young to remember a lot of the old dad. My son remembers a little bit of old Dad. He was what was he, 7 when we I think 7 years old when I got into recovery, maybe 8, and he talked about old Dad, early. He's like, man, old Dad used to do this, and so he saw that life change, and I carried for a long time the guilt of, man, I just wasted all this time with my kids. And now I look at it and I'm like, man, look at all these tools that these kids are going to have because of the life change that they've gotten to watch, and not just in me, but in my wife's life. Because guess what, my wife goes to Celebrate Recovery too, and she's not even an addict. And she has worked. She's worked 2-step studies now, and has
that's cool.
Has worked the steps, and it changed her life too. And she got to experience a level of healing from that. And so they've seen what it's done in her life as well. But now my son goes to the Landing, which is awesome.
Yeah, so, that's so cool.
He gets to actually use those tools. So it's cool. My life is so much better. I'm still a PT. I still work a job as a physical therapist. But now I get to work for this amazing church and shepherd this.
It is a great church.
Yeah, it is a great church. Yeah, and I get to shepherd this amazing ministry that was basically handed to me on a platter. Shout out to Ted Camina, who's one of your state reps.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, you guys do a great job. I've been there. It's a sweet group. Well, man, as we're kind of wrapping up, we got somebody listening. It's always kind of cool to think about somebody's listening, and they're Patrick of old, right? And they're listening and they're clinging. Maybe they're trying to seek security or strength or comfort and identity, and they're looking for all the wrong ways to do that. What's some encouragement you would give to them? They hear your voice and you get to speak to them directly. What would you say to them right now in this really hard space?
It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. Life doesn't have to be a burden. Life is hard, but it's impossible without support. And you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this. You don't have to guess and try and fail. There's a proven way to navigate life. There's a roadmap that's really clear. And if you'll have a little faith and trust God and trust this process, life is a lot better.
Good word, man. Well, amazing stuff, man, and so grateful for you. And seeing you guys, seeing Juliana there on the screen too, just makes me miss you guys, and can't wait to see you guys again soon. But thanks for all that you do. You guys are amazing team, and again, just want to plug your group there at Calvary Baptist Church every Monday night. What's the name of the city again?
Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
Lake Havasu. Great, beautiful place. Great place to visit, regardless. But Calvary Baptist Church there at Monday night, 6:30. Go to calvaryaz.com/recovery, and you can find out more information and just a sweet group. Incredible worship. It was a sweet experience for me when I visited there. So
yeah, we need to get you. We need to get you and Carol back both out here.
Oh man, let's do it. She'd love that. She was a little jealous when I was showing her the pictures and.
Absolutely, we'll get back on the lake and share a testimony.
Oh, that was fun. That was fun. Well, thank you so much for making time. It takes a lot of courage to share our story, and I appreciate you doing that. You're bringing hope to a lot of people right now, including myself. And cool thing is, every time we share, it's another layer of healing, isn't it? In our life.
It is. So. It is. It never gets old. Talking about what God's done. So
yeah. Well,
Rodney, thank you. It's been an honor. I'm glad you asked me to do this.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and just want to say to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. I hope you're as encouraged as I am. Just hearing, and Patrick's the real deal. What you're hearing is authentic, and God's done an amazing thing in his life, and he can do the same thing in your life. And so if you're feeling insecure, don't use the enemy's strategy to find security. If you're feeling weak, the enemy's strategies for the birds. Only Christ can give you the strength, the comfort, the sense of identity, if we'll just trust him and invite the body of Christ through this beautiful ministry called Celebrate Recovery. I hope you'll take that step. More information, go to celebraterecovery.com. But thanks for joining me today, and I pray that you'll join me next time. God bless you.